One, Dominic Endrizal, how are you, my man?
What is up, my friend?
It feels good to see you.
Yeah.
It feels good to have a familiar face
It's been a while.
in the Indianola area.
Yeah.
We have our blonde fatales for this special edition episode.
Peace Tree Brewing Company.
Yeah.
Get yourself some.
Here, cheers, bro.
That was the most satisfying clink
That's
I've
good
ever
shit,
heard.
man. That's
man.
good shit. I like that
nice.
sound. So, we were at the coffee shop before we came over here, and then you raised a very interesting question that I think is perplexing. I think it's something that we should open up and see what we can unravel. So pretty much the idea, at least what I can get from what you were saying, was there's all these platforms out there right now, whether it be social media, and people have instant access to broadcast their opinion. And pretty much you were asking me, is it something that you have to earn, or is it something that everybody should just have as like a basic human right? Because, you know, we have basic human rights, but also technology is
I don't
something
think it's
that
covered by that. I don't feel like technology is covered in the basic human rights. It'd be like kind of foolish to say everybody is entitled to having a MacBook or entitled to having access online. But slowly, I feel like it's becoming a basic thing, like a need. People always have to be connected.
Like a necessity.
Yeah, a necessity. It's weird how it develops from something that wasn't there. Because we start off with the basic necessities: food, shelter, companionship, all that stuff. And then we get into other things where people are starting to be like, oh, like even kids, they're like, oh, I need a phone.
Yeah.
I need that. And the parents are like, yes, they 100% do need a cell phone at 6 years old.
It's a great idea to give your kid a phone and he can look at porn. He can do whatever the hell he wants to right away.
Porn's a weird one.
Yeah, that's a different can of worms. I think it's an important question to raise because especially with these turmoil-ridden times that we're in, you know, people can post their opinions at light speed, and you know, I think a lot of people. I'm not going to go too far into quarantine and like the whole racial issues that are going on right now, but you know, people are charged. We have emotions, and I think you have to check yourself before you put something out there like that, because that's where it starts to become this almost like negative, toxic environment of dialogue, or I would say lack thereof dialogue, because a lot of these people are just spewing hate at each other online.
100%. So, I mean, growing up with technology, when did you get Facebook? 13, 14? I remember back when we were like...
I lied about it to get one. I lied about my age, because for the longest time it was saying I was like 25 years old. Really, I was like 20 years old.
I think we got it around the same time, probably like 6th or 7th, 8th grade, something like that, when we were running around the pool. P.S. We used to be buddies and run around at the memorial pool.
Dude, we
were youngins.
We were the pool rats.
Yeah, for sure.
That
was a thing. I had nothing to do. It was the membership to the pool was super cheap. Yeah. And I knew where it was. Just had to hop on my bike and I'd spend every single day just at the pool. I remember my boy Ish. He would sneak into the pool like every single day. He jumped remember how you could you could like slowly move the gate. You could shimmy in there.
I remember him doing that. I remember witnessing
every single day.
Yeah, Brandon Worthington would do that too. He would just like squeeze his way in. Yeah, those were the days, man, because I missed that, like, you kind of had a routine and you got up, and like for me it was like I rode my skateboard to my grandma's house, I met up with Riley, and then we were just like kind of killing time like on the internet or like watching some TV shows like Fantasy Factory, and then we'd go to the skate park first before the pool opened.
Yeah,
go to the pool, you're at the pool all day, and then you finish the day going back to the skate park until it's nighttime and you're like, oh shit, I gotta get home. But that's the routine, but it was almost kind of like, you know, let's just do whatever the day.
The boys and the girls were always there, dude. There was like a select amount of females or a select amount of boys, and we'd always meet up, and we'd go bounce between that little area of the pool and then the skate park. And it was just such a unique thing, because I think we were a lot of us were in different grades, because you were the grade above me in school, and so we didn't like know each other because we didn't go to school. Like we went to school, but you were different classes.
Well, because I think when we met, I was becoming it was the summer that I was becoming a freshman, and you were in 8th grade. So I was like, damn, it'll be another year until Dom gets over to high school.
Bro, was it? Because oh yeah, you were.
Yeah, but I mean, it was cool though because I had a lot of friends that were younger, and it was almost better that way because I didn't click with a lot of people that were in my grade, and I liked having like younger friends. And once you get to a certain age, the whole year difference doesn't mean anything. And I didn't view your grade as like, oh man, I'm hanging out with the fresh meat. It's like I was a fresh meat that year, and I was like making friends with the kids that were gonna come in next year.
Little babies.
Yeah, those were the fun days, man. I miss those days of like just fucking shit up. Like you're just like you really don't have any objective but to hang out with your friends, to get sun, to go to the skate park, slap a little booty like in some swim shorts.
Yeah, bro, literally. That was like my mentality. I get up, I'm like, yo, dude, I hope that one girl's at the pool. You know what I'm talking about. I was like, yo, bro, buddy. This is what I'm about every single day. And that was all my cares were. It was just wake up, go hang out with my friends, talk to girls, do it all over again every single day. See, it was like so crazy. I didn't have any problems. I didn't think about anything like in the world and stuff like that. Like none of that stuff mattered outside of Indianola, Iowa. It's kind of the nice thing of having ignorance, because like that saying that ignorance is bliss is the truest thing ever.
It's true.
Like the less you know, the happier you are.
But what would you take though? Like I guess just because you're not aware of things in that state of mind, like I don't know, maybe it's just because of the knowledge and power that we have. It's like I just feel like that would be so boring. But then again, people are naive and not even understanding of like all the difficulties of life that are happening around them. You know, to be in that state of mind. But as a kid, you're just present with the moment, like, and you lose that as you get older because there are all these things that you have to start worrying about, like fucking jobs, bills, going to college, fitting in with society. I mean, carving your own lane.
Seeing like
relationships
are big, but as a kid, you're definitely like trying to figure out who you are at that point too. And like, I don't know if you ever stop figuring out who you are, because like I have a pretty good idea who I am right now, but at 16, I don't know if I can say that. I don't know if I knew I liked playing sports. Like that was like my whole thing was like, oh yeah, man, I play sports, man. I play football, I wrestle, I'm a big tough guy, I lift weights every day. And like, I feel like it was almost shallow in that sense that I didn't develop like the better personality traits that I have now. Because I've always been the same person, but I feel like you just don't develop your attributes until later. Because like there's the good saying of you being molded by your surroundings. Yeah. And I feel like I was definitely molded by my surroundings, by being around Isaiah, one of my best friends growing up. Yeah. He's a goofy ass dude.
He is like a goof.
We would feed off each other, man. Yeah. We'd say some stupid shit all the time. You want to know it? It started becoming my dialect, and I started becoming funnier. I started wanting to talk to more people. And like, it really is just about who you put yourself around when you're growing up. I really feel like it's a big thing. Like me growing up in Iowa. So before I came to Iowa, I lived in Canton, Michigan. It's like a little suburb of like Detroit area, metro area of Michigan, around the Detroit. And for like back there, it was a different culture, because it was like here in Iowa, and especially in Indianola, it's like pretty much all white farm kids. You know, that's like the big majority of like kids you go to school with. They're like, oh yeah, going to FFA, got 4-H in the afternoon, like all that stuff. But over there, it was a different culture. I was in the minority of being like a white child, you know, and growing up in that area was a lot different than just like it was almost like a culture shock coming here. Yeah. But I'm sure every single place where you like move at a young age, there's like a culture shock.
Oh yeah, for sure. How long did you live in Detroit, or like around that area?
So born in Montgomery, Alabama, then moved to Michigan like 6 months after I was born, and then I came here in 5th grade. Okay. So however long, from 6 months after I was born to like 5th grade. Yeah. It's a decent shock.
Yeah, well, and that's such like an important time of your life. Like all those years are like really formative years. Like I moved from Arizona to Iowa when I was 3, and although like I don't really remember anything from that time period because I was so young, I'm assuming that there's a lot of significance with that, just because you're a small kid and your environment is completely shifting in one single moment. Like you go from this place where there's structure, there's order, and then you go to a place where you have to meet new people, make new friends. And it's probably more of a problem to get around if you were like in 6th grade, because I think you have more friends at that point. I don't remember who my friends were.
I remember I was pissed though when my parents told me when we were going to Iowa. I was like,
what the fuck
is
in Iowa?
I was like, what the hell is Iowa? And I'm pissed, bro. I remember I went to a big school. I'm pretty sure they were like, when we left, they were like on their 5th state title for hockey, and they had like 3 or 4 different high schools in that town. And I was like, bro, it's gonna be sick, man. I'm gonna be a hockey stud. And I come here, and I'm like, yo, there's not even hockey in this freaking state. What do you mean, man?
Yeah.
Dude, that's one thing for me that I wish Iowa would get on. Because Minnesota, they have the IHSA State Athletic Board, the Iowa State Athletic Board, they only have so many sports, and I imagine it has something to do with the reason why colleges only have so many sports. But there has to be like, what's that called?
The Title IX.
Title IX.
Yeah,
I imagine that's something to do with Title IX. But hockey is so cool. And Minnesota has it, Wisconsin has it, Michigan has it. All the states like just right above us have it, and then we just don't. We have it for club.
Right. Isn't it kind of crazy that like we're more into wrestling, but those states I don't think it's as popular. Like it's still a thing, and then like down here or up there they have hockey, but down here it's not really popular. It's like we're both Midwest states.
Yeah,
like, we're very close to each other. That wouldn't we have a mesh of the same sports that we're interested in?
So I really think wrestling is an interesting topic, but for the fact that the northern states is there's every state likes to think they're the best. As a person that went to college and wrestled with kids from other states, that's not true. Some states just suck. Like you could tell by like some of the people from the certain states.
Yeah.
And, you know, Iowa's a tough one. They're one of the top ones. And like I remember growing up, whenever we go to like camp somewhere, we'd be like, oh shit, we got a team from Pennsylvania or Ohio or New York or New Jersey. Those are like the tough ones. You're like, shit, man, dude, I don't want to go against the New York kid. I don't want to go against the New Jersey kid. And there's like certain states, but then you get into like other states, be like, oh shit, kid from Delaware, be like, who cares? Like, or like Pensacola, like, you know, there's like all this like certain like other states that you don't really have the same like level. Tennessee for sure. Tennessee is one that really stuck out in my mind.
Well, like I think of Iowa, and you got all the big boys, and that's why like Iowa Hawkeyes, they're always producing offensive linemen for the NFL. Like that, it just seems to be broken up into sections in the U.S. like what they focus on. So like if you're out in the West Coast, there's probably more like beach sports. Like I didn't even know beach volleyball was a thing, but there's a lot of people out there that have developed that. And then you go to Hawaii and you got surfing. Iowans can't surf. We're not around any body of water. All we have is lakes, but that's not enough.
Surfing would be sick, man.
I
really like skating, but surfing's hard. Have you ever wakeboard or tried this?
No, I tried to, but
wakeboard's freaking hard, man. Surfing's hard. I think it goes like surfing being the hardest. Skateboarding, actually skateboarding's really hard. It's weird because it's how hard you make it for skateboarding. It takes me forever to like do stuff, but like after I get done doing it, I'm like, oh, that was fun. You get to choose your difficulty with anything, but skateboard, it's either a tie between skateboarding and surfing being the hardest, and the snowboarding being the easiest. I think skateboarding just becomes harder. It also depends on how you're skating. If you're skating transition, or if you're skating street, because there's two different beasts, same animal.
Right. It's crazy when you see a skateboarder that's mastered like both of those terrains. You know, like that can conquer both of those areas. Because street skating is completely different from, like you said, going and doing transition and like ramps and like jumps and shit, almost like all these aerial moves. I feel like all the extreme sports captivated me so much as a kid, because you'd never seen people like football and basketball, like that's all cool, but like the aerial shit, like those moves, how are people moving in space and time, and then like on a board or a surfboard, like how are they creating that movement? I always loved skateboarding, but I could just never get like the flick of and the pop of the board. I could never get it down.
Flick and pop are very hard. I will not gas myself up and say I'm some Nija freaking Houston guy. I'd say I'm pretty decent, man. I can kickflip a lot of the time. I can do shove-its and 180s and stuff like that. And I can air out, maybe do a freaking frontside air if I'm freaking lucky.
That's more than I can accomplish.
And so like it is what it is, but I don't do it because I'm trying to be the best. I do it because it's fun. Like, you know, I enjoy like sitting back with the friends, you know, having a couple like 40s Miller High Life and just hitting downtown, skating for a while, or even going to the park.
Yeah, I mean the community of like skateboarding, like the history behind it is so interesting because I think that's really how it developed. Is like now it's obviously a profession for people to actually do now, but before, or like the way that skateboarding came up was just homies hanging out with each other and like just chilling and riding around the city and fucking learning tricks, and that's literally like the embodiment of what skateboarding is.
It's like, it's really cool when it is like that, but there are a lot of people that want to make it like a closed club. Like, you get like those guys that are really good, or even the guys that aren't really good, the guys that can freaking do like a shitty ollie that gets like a couple inches off the ground. They'll be those same people that call freaking some dude that's wearing a Thrasher hoodie a poser. Like, bro, you can barely ollie, but you're the one that's calling people out. Yeah. Skating's hard, man. It really is hard. But people want to act like only certain people can do this. Yeah. It should be open for anybody, and especially, like, I get the idea of someone being pissed about someone being a poser, per se, and stuff like that. I don't really care. They're embracing the culture. They like it. I don't even care if they only play Skate 3 and they're super stoked on Skate 3. Good for you, man. It's like you're getting an idea and grasping the concept of it.
Well, I don't understand how people that are a part of the skateboard community could hate that, because you're getting more people involved in the thing that you love, and you're spreading the message of like that. That's the thing, is like there's like almost like a code to being in that lifestyle. Not to say that you have to be the most gnarliest shredder on a board, but you can just appreciate and love what skateboarding is at its core.
You know what I always think is really funny? Do you like NASCAR?
I'm not like a huge fan. I'm not saying I hate it.
Let's just say you like NASCAR. Do you fucking race a car? No? Oh, you fucking poser ass bitch, bro. I can't believe you. You like NASCAR?
But my uncle drives cars, so that's how I got into it. And see, there's always avenues that can take you to follow something like that. Like skateboarding
is like the only one that's like that.
It's kind of weird that two kids from Indianola got like hardcore, or not, I wouldn't say hardcore, but at least like really fell in love with that, because we're, like you said, where we're located, we are more known for like the country boys, like working on the farm, doing the hard work, moving the hay bales. But I felt like Indianola was enough of a melting pot that there was
close enough to Des Moines to have that city influence.
Yeah, because it wasn't too far away, and you had a mix of everybody. Like I played football, and I wouldn't really consider myself a jock, but I had enough friends that were in sports. But even a lot of the kids that played sports also like to go to the skate park. Like, you played sports, you wrestled, you played football, but you were also a part of, like, you know, then everyone, all the preps would think, you know, that we're like that drug culture, like, oh, those are the skate rats, we want to stay away from them.
See, and the thing is, the drug culture, man, that's really weird for our high school. I don't know if it's weird just specifically for our high school, but man, I know damn well that like a ton of those kids that were playing sports, like the good kids, were out blowing loud like almost every single night, you know, because I'd see them freaking hop in their car and be like, "Woo, man, like, yeah, bro, I boxed my way to school. Let's go to history." I'm like, "Yo, you're a good kid. Your dad's a doctor." Like, you know, like,
what are you doing, homie?
Like, I don't know, the drug culture thing. I feel growing up, it was frowned upon a lot more, like smoking weed, psychedelics, and all that shit. Like, everybody was like, "Oh man, you smoke pot, you're gonna die." Yeah. And like, slowly, I really started to notice it like my freshman year. I like, yo, all these people are smoking weed, like these kids that play sports and stuff like that. I was like, that's cool. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really care. Do whatever you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
But it's weird how it's preached to us. But like, man, pick up a joint, man, you're a failure.
Yeah, the devil's lettuce.
You're never gonna amount to anything.
Well, it's partly government's fault. It's like after prohibition ended, they had to have something.
We got a
to go
prohibition
after.
right now.
Yeah.
We really do. I really think if we decriminalize marijuana, it'd be a great thing for our country. Just on the fact that you look at Colorado, dude, their roads and shit like that, all the money they get for the school from taxing it, bro. You can tax the fuck out of it. I really don't care. I like the same thing with alcohol. I think alcohol should be taxed, bro. It's not a necessity.
Mm-hmm.
I think alcohol, cigarettes, and marijuana should all be taxed. It's just something that people have extra money to spend on. It's not a necessity. It's something you do for fun.
It's like recreational.
It's a recreational activity.
Right, but with pot, and I mean, also what has happened with alcohol is like there's just like well, maybe not so much alcohol anymore, but the thing that happened to pot is it started to get this negative stigma around it that like if you smoke pot, you're lazy, stoner, like you don't do anything, you don't care about life. When I've met so many people that are like very disciplined, very much get a lot of shit done, and are a proactive person while on that thing. And I think it's just like with anything, it's like you have to find balance. Like you can't operate all the time being high, just as you can't become an alcoholic, because that's going to affect your life in a negative manner. Yeah. But you can use it to your benefit. You can use it sparingly, like.
I think there are great medicinal purposes for any substance, just about. Like, I'm sure you could even argue nicotine for medicinal substances for like some parts. Like, I'm sure there are some benefits to like almost every single drug out there. That's like why people do it. There's
been people that come back from war that have PTSD that end up smoking cannabis, and it completely helps them and alleviates the anxiety that they have.
The PTSD thing's crazy, man.
Even CBD oil has really helped for people that have chronic inflammation.
Bro, yeah, dude, for real. I'm way too young, but I saw this thing on Twitter where it was like unpopular edition joints, and it like had a picture of joints. And the dude quoted and was like, "Unpopular opinion, I'm way too young for my joints to be feeling like this." And man, I feel that. My ankle is always effed, man, and it hurts after a day skating, it's a day after running or doing judo or jiu-jitsu or literally like anything like that. I'm hurting, but I really do notice that I have this CBD tincture or whatever, like little dropper that I put in my mouth.
Mm-hmm.
I take that every single day, and I really do feel it. I really do feel like it helps lubricate the joint or do whatever it does. It helps with the inflammation.
Yeah.
And I just like it. I think it's a good thing that should not even be questioned. We have all these resources and stuff available to us, and we just can't use it because the government says we can't.
Yeah.
I think that's effed up.
I
don't think they have the right to tell us that we can't smoke a thing that can grow on the freaking earth, man. I think that's kind of ridiculous to really just say what you can and can't do.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's weird with the whole government thing. We're seeing almost like a little revolution right now of people disagreeing with the government and taking a stand. And I'm not saying I 100% condone everything that's happening, but I do think it's an interesting time that we live in, that this stuff can happen.
Yeah.
Did you hear about like the downtown Seattle block of people? Oh my God, it's crazy. It sounds like a movie, man.
Yeah.
So this is 100% real shit, what I'm about to tell you. In this block of Seattle, man, this block of downtown Seattle, they have it all gated off, they have armed guards, and they're calling themselves their own country.
Really?
Yes.
In Seattle.
That's
a big town.
Yeah,
a city. It's not even a town.
It's the smallest country ever. It's just a little freaking stretch, just a couple blocks or whatever. I don't have the exact thing, but bro, is that fucking crazy?
Yeah.
That people are trying to secede because of this whole freaking.
Well, kind of going back to like our question earlier about what people should have a platform. Like, I think there's respectful ways to communicate your opinion, but we have to be careful in how we are voicing our opinions, because I think that we are letting our negative emotions or our biases get in the way from making any progress. Sure, like these times are unfortunate, but you know what? It's gonna push the envelope forward with whatever comes. I don't know what it's going to be, but I just wish that people would do it in a peaceful manner, but also from a respectful place, and then always try and be objective and see what you can learn from the other side or a person that has an opposing view. Like you and I were saying earlier at the coffee shop, like we may not agree on every issue that we come up with or talk about, but that doesn't limit my respect for you, because I can still like listen to what you have to say and be like, all right, I can consider it from that angle or that viewpoint.
See, like the thing is, like everybody's so divided, man. Like, I'm cool if you're a liberal or a conservative or a Democrat or a Republican, a libertarian, like whatever you want to identify as. I can definitely see points that are attractive on both sides or on any side that you're trying to give. It's not like you're on the murder babies band where you're just like, hey man, if I see a baby, I'm punching in the face. Like, I don't think there's any person that's, I mean, there probably are, but most people aren't like spitting like straight garbage. And I feel like a lot of people interpret it as straight garbage. Like, let's say, and today is a perfect example of like what's happening right now is, let's say I'm not, but let's say I'm a conservative and I'm like, oh man, Donald Trump is a great president, and then you as a liberal would be like, oh my god, he's racist. I'd be like, what did I say that's racist right there? What did I do? I just said, I
think it's a lot of word twisting.
I'm not a fan of him, by the way.
I think
I think anybody has the right to be a fan of anybody.
Right, but
if you're a fan of Hitler, go for it, man.
Well,
it doesn't make you any better person.
Yeah, and I mean, I think with any politician, is like there's going to be aspects of them that aren't so good. There's going to be qualities where they can improve, but there's also going to be things that they do really well. So like, I'm sure everybody on this planet, or probably a majority of people, would say like there's some things they don't like about Trump. But I think we also have to acknowledge, like I said, you have to look at both sides of the coin instead of coming to this conclusion. I think that's what people are doing, is that they're jumping to conclusions, but they're also like relying on their biases. And I'm not saying biases are a part of a human being, but it is also important to question your biases, because that's where you can learn and that's where you can grow. And I think that that's the important thing about having a dialogue is exchange back and forth. That's one of the coolest things about podcasts, is like you get to learn about other people and you get to take a glimpse into their life and their perspectives. Cool, it's a learning experience.
I really do like the idea. Have you ever seen that? There's this joke about podcasts, like, oh, they're so easy to talk on because you just put the microphone and you just go over things. You seen that SNL skit where it's like a father and son? It's like, are you having trouble talking to your son? Well, now we have the podcast. And they're just like, so dad, how are you? Oh, I had a great day, son. It's weird how putting a microphone really opens up, like, it opens up the dialogue a little bit more. I love it.
I love podcasts, and also, you know, like why I talk to people before a podcast is to get the conversation going, because I think that if I just turn on the camera and I turn on the mic, things can kind of be awkward and a little anxious ridden, because we're like, oh my god, now the camera's on, I'm thinking about that thing subconsciously. But if you've already had, like, you know, say 40 minutes like we did under our belt of just talking, you know, it loosens up those muscles in your brain to be a little bit more conversational. But that's the cool thing about podcasts. It's like the longer that they go on, the deeper you're going into these areas, almost like the unknown, like all these big ideas and topics, and figuring shit out. Like, and I think it's a type of media, but I think it's more important, and we're obviously going to move more this way. Like, podcasts are accelerating at an unimaginable pace. Like, there's so many people that have podcasts, but I think it's because they allow that dialogue. When you're looking at mass media, like the news outlets and Twitter, you're seeing a small portion, or then you get cut off by like commercial breaks and whatnot. Like on here, you can talk, and it's authentic. It's back and forth. You don't ever see political debates that are like this. It's 5 minutes, and then someone's interrupting them every time just to cut them off, just to be right, just to enforce their point of view.
Yeah.
And you kind of have to give it to Trump. Like, he's great at that.
Oh,
he's a fucking showman.
So like the thing with Trump, man, he's an asshole. but he's really good at being an asshole. like the thing is, like, people would be like, oh man, yeah, Trump's a dick, and I'm like, yeah, but he's really good at being a dick.
Yeah.
Like he gets on people's nerves. And you look at his Twitter, and he's like, oh, these losers, freaking, these thugs, and I'm like, bro, he's definitely doing that just to piss. Like the way he wears stuff's like, oh, he's doing it to piss people off to get a reaction. Mm-hmm. I can dig it. I like reactions.
I get behind it.
I mean, I don't always get behind what he says, but I always am like, oh, dude, that's definitely gonna get someone pissed.
Well, hold on. Let's go back to where we started this podcast. Should he be allowed to be on that tweet?
Platform?
Because Barack tweeted, but he was not at the level that Trump was in the way that he communicated with the people online. Should Trump be allowed to have that?
So
he's got a high position in our country and in the world. Like
the thing is, so what we're talking about, how people can earn a platform and stuff like that. He earned the platform from being on the Celebrity Apprentice, being a freaking millionaire, doing all this stuff growing up. He wasn't just a nobody before he ran for candidacy. He wasn't it was his first time in politics, but he wasn't a nobody. He was a kind of a household name. Mm-hmm. I think that alone kind of earns himself a platform to talk on, just on the fact that people already have an idea of what he's about. People gather around. I remember watching Celebrity Apprentice when I was younger, and I'm like, oh yeah, dude, this guy's hilarious. He tells people they're fired. Oh, he's a real jerk. But yeah, I'm like, awesome. But it's weird how that guy became president. Mm-hmm. I never would have thought, me in 6th grade watching Celebrity Apprentice, like, oh, the dude that says you're fired is gonna fucking be running your country one day. I'd be like, oh, you're a fucking liar. That's delusional, man. That's not true.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think presidency is a weird thing, because if there's ever been a time where I've been like, oh shit, literally anybody can become president, it was after Donald Trump got elected. I was like, yo, why? I was like, this happened.
Yeah. There's a lot of people that are like, yo, I'm ready to move to Canada now. I'm ready to get the fuck out of the country.
Bro, I mean, I'm not a big fan of Justin Trudeau either. That's Canada's freaking whatever you call their president or whatever. I like Canada. I think Canada's cool. It's the only country I've ever been to other than the United States. Mm-hmm. Fun fact, staying local in North America. Never been to Mexico.
I heard people are really nice up there.
Yeah.
Kind of like even Minnesotans.
It's that Midwest nice, just pushed all the way up, bro. All the way up.
Yeah.
No, I like Canada. I think they're cool. They have legal weed. That's cool. I think we need to get on that. And there's certain Canada aspects I do like that I wish we had implemented here, but I also have other ways of flipping that. There's some things in America that I probably would like over there if I lived in Canada.
Yeah.
It's really hard to pick the perfect dystopia, for where we want to be. And I think people right now, they're on a little power trip almost, where they're trying to figure out what's the best place to be, or we can make it the best place. I think every place is gonna have its problems.
Yeah.
And I think people aren't thinking like that.
Yeah.
Every single place there's gonna be some fucking bad shit going down, man. That's just how it is.
That's why I still think that dialogue is the most important thing that you can have in a society, and that's what politics are not doing. But that's exactly the purpose of why we created politics, is you have two sides to balance each other out. Sometimes, and I think in your case, in my case, if we're kind of leaning in a more independent route, sometimes we might fall under the notion of believing a little bit more Republican, but then sometimes it kind of sways to Democrat. Mm-hmm. We see both issues and we take them both into account. But that's the thing with people is if they get on one side, it becomes that I'm voting strictly on party. I'm not going actually on my internal belief systems. It becomes an ideology. And it's ideologies are dangerous because they can possess you. They can take you over.
But I really think the worst thing that anybody can do is be a Republican or a Democrat. I really feel like that's the worst thing you can be, is a Republican or Democrat, and just strictly vote on your party and not have to look at the issues. Because for me, man, like I was saying earlier at the coffee shop, dude, I love guns, man. I think guns are great. I think they're a great tool for defense and stuff like that. I'm also pro-choice. Why do I have to choose between two parties for that, man? Why can't I also like guns and also be pro-abortion? Why can't I be pro marijuana and then also like border control?
Yeah.
Like why is there these different things that I have to pick and choose out of like the parties to really align myself? That's not true. We're not designed to be in two different spots.
No.
People are different, man. Some people like the color purple. Some people like the color pink, man.
Yeah.
Why do I only have to pick between purple and pink? Why can't I like green or red?
Who's telling you that?
Yeah.
Who's telling you to pick between the color purple and pink?
Bro,
It's messed up, bro. I like both colors.
that's what I'm saying. But people act like that. They act like just based on their thing. And I really feel like it's a generational thing. I feel like for a long time, people generationally were like, oh, yes, my parents are Republicans. Looks like I'm a Republican, I'm gonna vote Republican. Or, oh, my parents are Democrats, I'm gonna vote Democrat.
I think that's also why it's important to get out and
Out of your hometown.
Yes, go out and like I'm not saying that you have to be in so many different places like throughout your lifetime, but go experience the world. Go to different places because you start to gain a different perspective on life. Like if you stayed in Indianola for the rest of your life and you never got out,
Bro,
your viewpoints are very limited.
you probably wouldn't even think racism is a thing.
Right. And
You'd be like, what is racism?
And I feel very lucky and fortunate that even though I've lived in Indianola pretty much my entire life, is like I see, like I have a very open-minded
Yeah.
perspective on things that, you know, that I know that in the back of my mind at some point I'm going to get out and go somewhere else. But I think that's really important. I think that if people stay in the same place, it's they never grow. They never get to, and they become narrow-minded in their beliefs. Is that, well, no one's ever challenged them on their beliefs, so they think that that's the right thing, and they don't see any alternative course around that. It's like, this is where I'm in my box, but they don't even know that they're in a box because this is right, and I've been taught that this is right, and everything else is wrong.
See, you want to know one thing that's really surprised me about this town is how supportive a lot of people that I went to high school with. Like, it's good that they're supportive, like the BLM, the Black Lives Matter movement. I appreciate that. It's cool. But a lot of the same people that are like super supportive of this BLM shit were anti the gay, because we were the first state that legalized gay marriage. And I remember going on Twitter the next day after gay marriage was legalized. People were losing their shit. They're like, oh, it's not right. It's not this. I'm like, bro, what the fuck? Why do you care what anybody does in their own bedroom? And they're like, people had a problem with it. They're like, oh, it's just against God's will. It's weird that the same people, I mean, I guess people grow up. It's been a while since gay marriage was legalized federally. And then I think it was like 2014 or something like that, whenever it was legalized here in Iowa.
I'm not sure.
15,
I don't remember.
16, something like that. I think it happened my sophomore, junior year. But I remember people were pissed, and people would talk shit, but there was more of a dialogue. That's one thing that's a little interesting about that topic, on how there's a more dialogue and help understanding of why gay marriage should be legal. Now there's no dialogue for the Black Lives Matter movement, and either you're with it or you're a racist.
Yeah.
There's no dialogue to educate people. And I like, the thing is, like, I didn't really hate anybody that was anti like the gay marriage thing. I just wanted to talk to them, explain like why it's okay, or give them my viewpoint on why I believe it's okay. Just try to educate them and see that.
Yeah.
Nowadays, man, there's no educating people on that issue. Especially on the race issue, there's no educating. You're a racist, you're unforgiven, you're canceled.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I pull up my Facebook feed, man, and I just see all these people like screenshotting, like, oh, this racist commented on this, and it's just them posting like screenshots. And I'm like, are you really making the world a better place by posting on your Facebook page? Do you really think that you're a true ally because you posted a black picture?
Yeah.
Do you really think that Pepsi gives a shit by posting a black picture? Like, I really feel the worst thing about it is the social media pull of it being cool and people not taking it seriously. That's my biggest fear about this whole thing, is people doing it as a social media flex and not actual care.
Well, that's the thing, is like, people live on social media, they live vicariously through other people. So in some ways, what you're doing when you get on social media, I don't care who you are, because everybody's done it, and I've done it, whenever you're like trying to get likes, like, you have a mask on when you're on that thing. There's a partial mask, and it's partly a personality or something that you're trying to add to yourself by feeling good and getting these likes and getting people on your side. And that's why maybe there does need to be a discussion on who gets to talk on this thing, because
exactly. You feel like everybody's qualified to talk on that issue.
Right. And
I feel like we're probably not even qualified to talk on
probably not, and probably people are going to get pissed at some things that we say on here, and I understand that, but it's like,
I'm okay to understand what I said wrong if you explain it to me.
right.
I'm always down.
But at the end of the day, it always has to come from a point of like, we have to, like, on a basic level, like, okay, we're all individuals and we're all different. We all have our own beliefs and our own internal structure of how we go about our days and in the world. But like, at the end of the day, I think we gotta have compassion for each other, because we are all the same organism. And there are big things at stake that, like, if we make wrong moves or piss people off that are in power, our whole Earth will be decimated, because we have nuclear warfare in the hands of all these big powers. So at the end of the day, we have to come to some consensus, if it's just being objective and a nice person and like trying to engage in a productive dialogue where we come to some compromise. And that doesn't mean that I have to believe your viewpoint. It doesn't mean that you have to believe mine. But we just have to come to an understanding and not let those things get in the way and separate us. But it seems simple in principle, but I think that we still have these tendencies from our evolution, like where we choose sides. And I think social media has just exposed a lot of flaws of humans. I don't think we would talk. We'd still talk about this stuff if we didn't have social media, but I think it's on our minds more because we do have that access to post it all the time.
The thing is, man, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing that is on people's minds and stuff like that. Because let's be honest, racism is definitely a terrible thing. It's not something that I see all these anti-racism things, all these anti-racist tweets, all these anti-freaking fascist tweets, like all that shit, all anti-Trump. I've never seen a pro-racism tweet. I've never seen like a fucking someone be like, yo, racism is tight. Please don't freaking take that out of context. But it's weird how we say we live in a racist country, but we also have like people that go out of their way to make it inconvenient for racists to live their lives. Like they'll try to ruin their whole lives if they post some wrong
When I think if anybody were to post that, everyone would kind of like see that and be like, whoa, man.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
What are you doing?
Like, who agrees with it? Who sees that and they're like, hell yeah.
Yeah,
racism. Yeah.
I think for the most part, like, we're all in agreement with that issue.
Yeah.
But I think, again, partly a problem of social media is like you just see something that happens, and I don't think it happens on a day. Okay, it probably happens on a daily basis, but it's not magnified to that level because it's not always posted about with media. But when they find something to that extreme case, they post it, and then everybody is instantly enraged.
Oh, yeah.
And the emotions start pouring out, which emotions are good. Like, in some sense, they can push you in the right direction, but I think emotions are also really harmful. Like, you're entitled to your emotions, but that doesn't always mean that you're right, because emotions they act as lenses. So like when you're angry at somebody, you see them in the lens of anger. Mm-hmm. And it takes especially like, let's just say it's like a bad relationship or a fallen out friendship, and you feel like they did you dirty.
You're gonna hate that person.
You see
that
it.
person so bad. Yeah.
And you have this internal argument with them every time you see them. Mm-hmm. And it's like, betrayal, like that's a really interesting thing, because if somebody betrays you, that takes a long time to get over, to process in your head, and then forgive them and come out on the other side with
I agree.
compassion. So I think it's just like people have to check themselves. But social media is definitely an issue for so many reasons. That's probably also what we were talking about before. And it's like, I don't really know how you manage that and how you cap that off. And is it Twitter trying to do that now? Aren't they like prohibiting some things that people say?
The thing is with like Twitter, it's a privatized thing. It's not owned by a government or like a body. Like there's people that own Twitter and they can do whatever the hell they want with it. But it's viewed as a platform that doesn't freaking limit whatever you say. I mean, in the best reality, we'd have a social media that you can say whatever you want, it wouldn't be regulated, be whatever. But I know that would never happen because if you made a site where you can post whatever you want and no one would take it down, it should become a porn site. That's like that's just what it would be, bro.
Especially if you let like fucking middle school or something say
yeah,
whatever the fuck that
yeah,
was.
exactly, bro. It'd be a pretty fucking bad spot.
Yeah.
I mean, it's because people aren't good. People like to get the reaction. People like to get your goat, man. People are always about that. I think today's Twitter culture would not survive in a Modern Warfare 2 lobby back in middle school. Bro, I swear to God, they would not survive in that free-for-all battle on Rust.
Yeah.
Because, dude, those are toxic. Those are so
feelings
bad.
get hurt, bro.
Feelings get hurt. They'd be like, "Oh, you suck. I just slept with your mom. N-word, you're R-word." I'm like, whoa,
bro. Just playing some COD,
I'm 12 years old. Why do you freaking hate me this much? And be like grown-ass men.
Mom, did he really mean that when he said that? No.
Yeah, dude, it's amazing. All these people I play Call of Duty. My mom, family. They always say, like, "Oh, yeah, I just slept with your mom."
I feel like it's just such an interesting time, and then also for like our age, because were you born into the 90s? Did you squeeze in?
Yeah, I squeezed in.
Yeah, so I was a 97 baby, and like I feel like that was to get into the 90s. Like
I feel like we had to grow up in the 90s.
Yeah, and like I feel like there's good qualities about like our generation, but we also did grow up with the phone, and like, but I think we're also cognizant of the damages where like now our siblings and then the younger generation, they're getting it even younger than we did, that they can't even like decipher what's reality and what's not, you know, like that shit causes depression. Like we were saying, you get on there, even if it's like your toxic opinions that you're absorbing, it's also that, you know, you start to compare yourself to other people. So it's just a really, it's a tool, and anything that's a tool, you can be used in the right direction, but I also think that if you start to abuse that tool, just like if you were to abuse alcohol or pot or whatever it may be, it starts to hurt you in many different ways, and those kids are always on it.
So one thing that's weird about Twitter is you get to personalize your experience. You get to choose who you get to follow, and stuff like that once you read every single day. So everybody's feed's totally different.
Yeah.
So I think it's weird that you could have someone using the same app, you can be getting a totally different feel. Like let's say they follow Ben Shapiro, Donald Trump, and like, you know, Candace Owens, like, you know, just like get all that Republican side, with like the Bernie Sanders and like all that side. They're using the same app, but they're getting so much different information, and that's what they're living off, man. They're getting that information every single day. They're just fueling it, they're taking it every single day, and I really feel like it's molding their personality. And also, I'm just gonna say this, set the record straight. Your political party is not a personality trait. I don't care who you are. I freaking hate that. It's the same thing as being a pothead and saying that's a personality trait. It's not, man. Whatever you believe in, like that, your political thing is not a personality trait. I hate that. I hate people.
Ideology.
It's an ideology, man. I don't care that you're a liberal. I don't care if you're a conservative. It's not who you are. You're a freaking person.
Yeah.
That's how it should be.
Yeah.
But people like to act like, oh my God, I don't need. You know, on apps it's weird. So I told you I have a Tinder. FYI. It's fun.
Promote yourself.
I don't think you can search people on Tinder.
No, you can't. No.
But there will be people that will be like, it's weird. I've noticed it a lot lately. Where it'll be like, you know, if you support Trump, swipe left. And I'm like, yo, okay, it's interesting that you.
Thanks for letting me know.
Yeah, like, fuck. Or be like, oh, if you don't support Trump, swipe right. Like it's weird how people freaking hold their political opinions so much. And like, I'm sure there'll be someone who'll be like, oh yeah, well, just saying, if you support the man in office, you're a racist. Are you? I don't know.
But people have already determined it for other people. They've already come to that conclusion. But that's the thing, is like, how could you come to that conclusion? Like, maybe that's the one thing you dislike about them, and that's the first topic that you guys come across. But then if you were to talk to them past that, maybe you find a lot of things that you do like about them.
Yeah.
It's like we can coexist if we want to, because I think a mission of the human race to try and solve is to find like this understanding of peace, love, and compassion for everybody else. But we're very tribalistic, it's in our nature, it's in our DNA that we like to pick sides. I mean, that's how we evolved. We had our tribes and our clans, and then like if people disagree, we're like, no. I mean, you had tyrants back in the day that would fucking sever heads of other people that they captured they didn't believe. It even happens in war still. Like, shouldn't we be to a point like we've seen what happened with the Nazis? We've seen all these examples of like mass genocides. Like, we really don't want to go there again.
Yeah.
Because we know how bad it was.
So, like, the thing is, with that whole mass genocide thing, I think one thing that's, like, so I think there's a certain thing of, or a certain list of things that, like, really divide us as people, like, between each other. I'd say one being race. Race, we look at each other, we look different. Religion, we believe in different things. In education, we know different things. And I really think those are the three big things that separate people. And they're never going to go away. We just have to learn how to adapt and incorporate all of them. And so, with race, obviously, the skin color, we look different. And you can choose to make that an issue, or you can choose to understand it. You can understand the difference of melanin. If you look at it a totally scientific thing, like, oh man, this man has more pigment in his skin than I do, or has less pigment. I really feel like if we looked at it as a scientific thing, there wouldn't be that problem where we have to judge. We have to be like, oh, his culture, stuff like that. Be like, oh, he has more melanin. That should be the end conversation right there. Right there. For religion, I really find it hard to pick out what's the right thing for religion, because everybody thinks they're right, and everybody thinks everybody else is wrong.
But there's so many different religions, so let's explain that. It's like, why is there different takes on this thing? But they all kind of have like the same idea, dogma, affinity to a higher individual that is their God. I think that's just a thing that we conceptualize as humans. Is that's
because
like
we're scared.
And some people need religion to feel like they have a sense of purpose. They can't operate without it. And I will say, there's a lot of good things about religion, but it's also the people. It's again, it can become an ideology that you prescribe so hard to that thing that you can't see outside of it. So then they take everything that it says in the Bible literally, and it's like, dude, people wrote that thousands of years ago in different languages. It's been transcribed in different
100%.
languages. You don't know exactly what they meant. I think it's stories. As people, we story tell.
That's what I think is so crazy about Indonesia and how they have a lot of places under Sharia law, which I think is just so, like, nothing, not to knock the Muslims or anything like that, but I think it'd be crazy if we followed the Ten Commandments as law, like, or like followed everything as law like that. Like, that's just in a book from a long time ago.
Yeah.
Where things are so different from when those scriptures came.
Yeah.
Like, I really think that we as a people have to overcome and adapt to new situations. And with those overcome and adaptations, we become better, we understand more.
Yeah.
We learn to love and accept more.
Yeah.
But I really feel like religion, like, I mean, there is great things about it, but I really feel like people use it as a separating point. Like, people use it as a discrimination thing, which I've never understood. Like, so I play Call of Duty. Like, I get called like a Jew all the time. I'm like, what the hell does that even mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Or there'll be like some dude. There's a dude named Ahmed in my lobby, free for all lobby, and some dude pulled up. He's like, "Oh, Ahmed, you freaking Muslim POS." I'm like, "Whoa, okay,
wow, man. Why are you gonna bring Muslim?
I'm
into
like,
it?
his name is Ahmed, bro. He could be freaking white and live in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
Probably not, but I mean, like,
there's like a 5% chance that might be the case.
Yeah. I mean, but it's weird how we divide ourselves on religion. I just kind of wish that, like John Lennon said, imagine there's no religion. I think it'd be so much better.
Isn't it crazy that the people that are like, in a way, they think that by being religious that they're living this very purposed life and they're doing like all the right things, but the ones that are so critically behind it and then judge other people are actually doing like a negative effect not what religion was intended for. And that's like the crazy thing is like, dude, you are sinning more than I am. I'm trying to be a generous person and see it from your point of view. And I've always told like any religious person that it's not that I adopt it, but it's like I see the value behind it. If you're truly like trying to do it to be a good person, there's nothing wrong with it. But it doesn't have to be so strict where there's no other force outside of that. And that's what, like, at the end of the day, you know, and maybe it's just people that aren't open-minded, like, we're complex creatures. How could you ever formulate an idea of, like, where we came from? Like, there's partly science that plays into that. There's partly drama from the stories that religion provides that obviously have an effect on us because we are storytellers and we have visions. Like, we can see the future. So it's not outlandish, but it's also not outlandish to say that maybe we were created by aliens. Like, there's so many possibilities.
There's a lot of
Big Bang, like, they're all out there. And why can't you take aspects from all of them and integrate them into a view instead of being one side versus all the others?
You know what I think is crazy? You heard of Waco and shit like that, you know?
Waco, Texas?
Yeah, Waco. Like, the dude that was talking to God and he, like, told everybody that God told him to drink the Kool-Aid and how they all had to wear Nikes and shit like that. Yo, why the fuck would you believe someone that they're so special that God's talking to them and only them, bro?
Yeah.
Why would you believe that? That was like, yo, God's talking to me. I'd be like, are you shitting me?
I had a conversation with God last night. That's what he told me.
I'd be like, word. So, like, what kind of drugs you on? Or like, what the fuck you taking? Because why are you so special? This dude that lives down the street from me that I met freaking like it's just a random person. You really think about it. It puts it in perspective. Like, why would that guy be the freaking person that talks to God? Out of all the people.
And you know what? Like, we're talking about like psychedelics and stuff earlier. That stuff's all naturally grown on our earth. That you gotta think that our ancestors took that shit and had visions, and that could honestly be how the idea of religion formed. Because I've heard many people say that those experiences are like religious experiences.
Yeah.
You come out with a different understanding, and back then, that's how they conceptualized these big grand ideas. Or they're conscious. They thought a God was talking to them. Where now we know it's like that's the voice in my head. It's like this thing that's always going on, and I can't necessarily control it. Like thoughts are fucking all over the place, man. Like you just have to try and absorb it, but always be crucial of your thoughts. Like you can't say that thoughts are reality.
Oh yeah.
But people
perceive them to be.
Well, they believe them as reality, and that's why people get into depression and shit because they listen to that, and then they keep spiraling and they keep chasing it. When a lot of what depression, I'm not saying that there aren't reasons that you could fall into depression if like a bunch of catastrophic events happen in your life.
I also feel like it's a chemical thing too.
It could be environment, it could be how you're raised, it could be a bunch of factors, but I also think a lot of it too is a mindset. You know, like it depends on your environment. If you were raised in a negative mindset, like maybe that's just traveled with you your whole life. That you know that's what you fall into because it's right there. It's your knee-jerk reaction.
So with that the race thing. I actually do know of this kid that I'm not gonna say how I know him because I don't want to give out personal info, but he cannot produce dopamine in his brain, and so he has to take like a medication to help produce like happy pill. You know what I'm saying? And so just right off the rip, bro, if we're talking like about biological evolution, man, he got the shorter end of the stick, bro, because they decided.
No dopamine.
No
Dopamine for you, son.
Yeah. And so he has to take something else, like to come with that to make sure he's okay.
Yeah.
And I can imagine for a long time, man, there wasn't medication for that. You know, you're just effed. You're just unhappy forever.
Yeah.
That'd be like the worst type of hell.
Well, and you
just wake up unhappy, and like I've been in that mode where I've been like, I wake up and I'm like, oh my god.
Instantly.
Another day.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that for your whole life? Like even as a little kid when the magic tutorial.
Yeah.
Where you're waking up every day and you're like, God.
And it's so hard because you hear people that talk about their experiences like as a kid where they were depressed and that's how they felt. And it's like, you know, I had bad shit happen to me as a kid, but I don't think I could ever say that I was depressed.
No,
it
didn't wrap my head around depression.
No.
I'd be sad at some points.
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh man, my dad yelled at me. I freaking knocked over a vase and pissed. Or I got like freaking like put in timeout or all that shit.
Right.
But like, it wasn't something where I could wrap my head around. I'm pretty fortunate to have the upbringing that I did, that I didn't live in the home of an abuser or some type of negative thing where awful things would happen to me on a daily basis.
Yeah.
I was pretty fortunate to have two loving parents and then two pretty decent brothers and sisters.
Decent.
Yeah. But like, that definitely has a factor on who I am today. And I believe I probably would be a similar person to who I was if I was raised in a different environment. but I feel like I wouldn't be the same person that I am.
You wouldn't, because I mean, environment shapes you. It's just like, you know, and a lot of those things that, like, it is partly chemical imbalance, but a lot of it is your environment that you, if you grew up in a toxic home with bad parents, like, that shit travels with you for a long time. And let's just say that, you know, you stay there for a long time, you never get to realize your true potential because you're constantly surrounded and drowning in all that suffering and all that misery. So that's a big important thing, that if you are a part of that, and it's different for different people. Like, some people see that right away and they're like, when I am of age, I am getting out of my parents' house. And then some people don't, and they just stay there and they take the abuse, you know? And I don't know, yeah, there's a variety of factors, but that's the clinical diagnosis, is like, if you're depressed or something, you have this chemical imbalance. So antidepressants can help. I mean, I've taken them, I'm still on them.
I mean, it's just weird that there is, like, science has gone so far. One thing that I think is crazy is how we have, like, necessities for, like, certain pills. Like, it's crazy that we have, like, dick pills and, like, fucking happy pills and stuff like that, but we don't have, like, a cure for AIDS or something like that. Like, it's weird how, you know, one thing that I think you're freaking brave as hell is that you shave your head. I could not do that. I have a weird shaped head. I don't have the best hairline, but I still have, like...
Well, you become used to it.
Yeah.
You know, when I had a receding hairline, I didn't want anybody to know, so then I covered it up with hats. And then I remember, like, even when I did shave my head, I was terrified to let people see it. And I still wear hats a lot. I like it as a fashion sense, and I think it looks good on the bald head. But, you know, you get used to it. It's just a matter of, like, any 21-year-old doesn't want to admit that they're balding and think that that might affect the way that girls find them attractive.
Yeah,
or
that's
the way
definitely a thing.
People judge them. And so that's something I dealt with, like, because I knew it was coming when I was 21. And I kind of even knew in high school that I had a receding hairline. I know it's in the family tree, but you get used to it. And I think there's a lot of badasses with shaved heads. The Rock, Joe Rogan, Bruce Willis, like, dude, they're all hard motherfuckers.
Yeah,
not to say that I'm close to any of them, but, like,
shave your head, you're like, dude, I'm gonna go fight everyone.
I think it builds integrity, though, because you really don't give a fuck what people think.
Well,
you reach that point at some point.
I remember seeing this thing. I was like, yo, never disrespect the freaking bald man or a young bald man, because they looked the devil in the eye and said, fuck you.
Yeah.
And just freaking slid it back, bro.
Yeah.
See, I wish I had that type of freaking love for myself, that I could freaking shave my hair. Because for, like, the longest time, for a good, like, year or two, I had, like, hair down to my shoulders, and I'm like, oh man, this is so sick.
That's how it always starts.
Yeah, that's how it
long
starts.
Goldilocks.
Yeah, bro. I'm like, yo, I got this long, beautiful blonde
sunshine, walking down the
ready
road.
to go. But, like, I mean, just naturally, I think over the years, you notice, like, you start to get, like, the temples start to go back or whatever. Like, I'm still pretty fortunate that I have most of that shit right here.
Yeah.
It's not crazy. But, like, I remember being, like, 19, I'm like, why the hell is there an angle right here?
Yeah.
I remember a time where it used to be 100% connected.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Oh, no.
And then you, like, hit that rabbit hole where you go on YouTube and you're like, so is there any way to stop it? And you look at, like, these shit. Like, I remember just, like, the one thing that I saw that I thought was crazy is stuff called, like, finasteride or Propecia. And I'm like looking at all the side effects. I was like, oh, word, dude, there's a pill you can take to make your hair grow full out. I was like, dude, let's just get on that. I'm like looking through, like, the side effects, like impotence, your package can shrink. And I'm like,
What do I give up?
I'm like, yo, I really do like having this hair, but bro, I also like having a working penis. Like, dude, it's a really big toss. I mean, I don't know. It's crazy. On, like, and that's a definite thing for the whole balding thing, is the confidence thing. Is you have to, like, really sacrifice that you're there's some people that sacrifice the ability to function in the bedroom so that random people that they see on the street will notice that they have hair.
And you know what's so crazy?
But you want to know what? They wouldn't notice if they had bald hair either.
Right.
I really feel like
it
people
just becomes normal.
Yeah.
So that you think that hair is a part of your identity and your image. And I mean, for some famous people, you know, like afros and shit, and now like The Rock and Joe Rogan, people know them for that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think those guys are almost more courageous, and I think it's better even to have it happen at a younger point in your life. Like Rogan, he didn't lose his hair until like 26, which is still a very young age to lose your hair, but like, it was coming for me, and although like I'm not actually like fully bald, I just shaved my head because it's like, get on with life.
Yeah, exactly.
Life is hard, and it's gonna come at you in many angles and try and fucking knock you down. But you know, and so that would just be my advice to any guy that is young that is having a problem with it. And it's a slow process.
Like that too.
And no matter if you take those pills or like I was doing Rogaine, my dad he got me on Rogaine when I was like fresh into high school, and there are side effects that say that like if you do it at a younger age, it can actually cause you to lose more hair. So who's to say if that actually helped me? And then, you know, like some people go so far as to have like hair transplant surgery, and that's not even a guarantee. Like Rogan did, and he's got this big gigantic scar behind his head that looks like a smiley face. So you just have to embrace it, and that's a good message for anything in life. Like if it's something that you're insecure about, is like, honestly, dude, for all the people that I thought would give me shit, or all the girls that I thought that wouldn't find me attractive, it's been the reverse. I've found that I think more girls find me attractive. It doesn't interfere because I have a really good personality and people like that.
Yeah.
And all my friends that I was like, oh man, what are they gonna think about this?
Bro.
They all like encouraged me and were like, dude, you like, I'm so glad you did that.
Yeah, exactly. And like the thing is, like, you never like, if there's a girl that's only freaking dogging you because you have hair, bro, okay, you must have some amazing hair. Start off with, but that's not a person you want to continue.
Yes.
Like, can you imagine if like you were like, okay, I'd probably be cool with it, but let's say like a girl was like, oh man, yeah, I wanted to sleep with you because you have a cool tattoo.
Yeah.
I'd be like, yeah, it is pretty fucking cool.
Yeah.
But like, what the hell? Why would that be like the only factor?
Exactly. It's kind of like also like just having attraction in a relationship. Like it's an important aspect, especially if you're gonna get married to a girl. Like you have to have that flame eternally on fire. But like it can't be the only thing that you have. Because if you can't have conversations with your girl, how are you gonna raise kids?
Dude.
You're just gonna want to have sex with her. That's it.
Dude, that's the thing, man. Like they're definitely they're the. I mean, me and my boy talked about this the other day. There's like a difference between wholesome and cute and like porn star hot. There's definitely that different thing. And I think as like a man growing up today, like being introduced to the porn star hot, those like that's what you kind of like grow up like being like, you know, the girls with gigantic boobs and like a freaking ridiculous butt. And see a dude with like a 13-inch long like time, and I'm like, bro, this is crazy, dude. This is what life is.
Yeah, this is normal.
Yeah, then you get into like real life, and people aren't built that way.
Yeah.
And you're like,
girls don't do those things.
I'm like, yo, wait, why is she not wearing high heels and getting effed in the butt? Like
she just walks in and wants it. No, man.
No, exactly.
It's not always like that.
It's really weird to like separate yourself from the fiction, because I feel most men they grow up on the fiction, bro. Because like, yo, dude, being like a little kid or being in middle school or whatever, and seeing porn, you're like, bro, this is sick.
This is amazing.
This is amazing, bro. Boobs.
And you know what? I just like now where I'm at and the age that I am, I feel like it was so dangerous to let kids that age have it, because it definitely created expectations in relationships and made some just not work as well. Like, and I don't think that you appreciate that intimacy with a girl when you're used to that thing. Like, it almost makes it more awkward for you to like engage with them sexually because you're used
100%.
to looking at a screen. And I also find that like once you start getting away from that, you start to appreciate like the smaller attributes of women. You kind of notice those things more and they pop out more. Whereas before, like if you're watching porn all the time, you're just in it for the assets that they have. And I mean the assets that are on their body. That's all you're thinking about.
Also, I think it's weird, like the porn sex, man. Do you really think that people would like be choking girls and like just porn star fucking, like, you know what I'm saying, like not, straight up like that?
Not to that graphic level, but like, you know,
if there wasn't porn.
Well, okay, but you think about like 50 Shades of Grey. I think a lot of girls are actually into that shit, but they don't admit it. It's like lit erotica. A lot of girls like to read novels of like romance, but that have that like bondage in there.
Yeah.
But I don't think it is to the graphic nature that you see on porn, because there's a lot of shit that you're like, bro, is that legal? Like,
yeah, bro.
I don't know.
Freaking just growing up and like seeing that all the time. Not all the time, but like, you know, as like a middle schooler and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Your parents are at freaking wherever dinner, and you're like, bro.
That's all you're thinking about.
Yeah,
Going home
like,
later.
You know, they're about to leave.
Yeah. Thank God I got the home to myself.
But like, I don't know. It's definitely a weird thing. I don't know. I feel like I wasn't affected negatively. I feel like it just helped me understand. I'm like, oh yeah, that is what a vagina looks like.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it did give me kind of a different idea of what a penis looked like, though, because like, you know, until like my freshman year and I started going to the locker room, I thought everybody had like 14-inch dicks. I was like, oh wow, this is crazy.
I remember like one of the first times that I ever watched porn, and I was like almost kind of like, what? Like, that's how it fucking works? Like, no one, because that stuff's kind of taboo, and I think it's awkward for parents to talk to their kids about that. So in a way, like, it did teach you a lot, but like, yeah, I remember almost being like, what? That's how it works? I was like, I didn't know it went in that hole. I didn't know they had that hole.
Yeah, that's also true. Freaking, like,
you're like, wait,
you're like, how many holes are in a vagina? Like, that's crazy to freaking realize that, because you don't know. Because like, I feel like in the education department, I don't really remember them talking about the holes in the vagina.
No.
I remember I remember until like I actually started having sex, that I was like, yeah, there's just two. I was like, there's a front and there's a back. That's all there is. And then like once I started doing it, I was like, yo, wait, there's levels to this shit.
Yeah, man, and it's a weird topic to get into, but yeah, and I mean, all girls are different too. Like, just the experiences that you have with the girls, like, you see what they like. It's all preferences, and you gotta communicate that in a relationship too, because you might be like, I don't know what they like. You know, you gotta test that shit out, and they gotta be bold enough to say like, hey, this is what I like. Sometimes we gotta get a little freaky. You know, like, I like a little bit of mix up in the relationship.
I'm down for it.
But it is past an hour. It is past an hour, and I don't want to cut us off on this conversation, but I normally have my podcast at 1 hour.
Word.
So, Dominic, this has been real, man. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for coming on.
Look at this handshake.
This is a real man's handshake. Thanks, man.
Yeah, no problem, buddy.